Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker and welcome to the Bunker Club, the Perfume Club. Check this out. I prompted my AI bubbles to generate a perfume club for us to go dance. It's about time we relaxed a little bit. Look, let me show you the other side. Look at that. Are these bottles to guzzle or are they perfume bottles to sniff on? Well, the party's just getting started and I have my top 5 perfumes for the club to share with you. It's fun. It's been a difficult year, okay? It's been on many levels. Health-wise, it's been a very difficult year for me. Economically, it's been a difficult year. Politically, it's been a difficult year. Um, really, on every level, it's been a shit show, okay? Let's call a spade a spade. 2024. So, I'm thinking, what can we do? Let's dance. So let's go to the club. But what perfume would we wear to the club? Thumb up this video, subscribe, and everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. You can also push the join button, become a member today, get access to extra perks. You can also follow me on Patreon. Superdacob all spelled together there as well for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week on my main Superdacob channel. So go follow me there as well to join the live chat. So hello to my co-chatters in the sidebar. Let's get to it. The first perfume that I highly recommend wearing to the club would be this one. Obsession by Calvin Klein. Now, mind you, if I do find links to, like shopping links, because YouTube does allow that at the moment, I will be posting them down below. So that's the price of them. I don't earn anything extra on top. You're not going to spend more if you go through that link, but a percentage of the proceeds might go as a little commish to me. So it helps out the channel a lot if you do love Obsession. And Obsession does fall under the cheapy category nowadays. It is a perfume that was released in 1985/86. Back in the 80s, the releases were not happening simultaneously worldwide. The brands took their time, So perfume would be released, let's say, in Europe, then the year later it would be released in America. But Obsession is an American, Calvin Klein is an American brand. Obsession was produced in France, and in fact, but there is also a version of Obsession made in the US. This is the current bottle. It is a 100 ml spray distributed by Coty. I do have a Calvin Klein distribution, the original Obsession in the splash bottle from the 80s. Look at this beauty here. This is a 50 ml bottle. And this was the cologne back in the day. They just made the cologne. And then after that, shortly after they started the cologne, they also introduced the eau de parfum. Now, why would I wear this to the club? Let me tell you. Because there is no... this is very vintage, and I'm super scared of actually opening it right now. Okay, it's a little bit jammed. And I'm not going to break this stopper. These are relics of history. This bottle, 90s, 2000. What is this, 40 years old? Oh my God, this bottle is almost 40 years old, you guys. Yeah, in 2025, because this was released in 1985, in 2025, this bottle will be 40 years old. I just got a little heart attack thinking about that. Wow. Okay, this is no longer vintage. This is at this point a relic. You know what I mean? But why is this so beautiful for clubbing? Don't forget that when Obsession was released, Vogue magazine would earn most of its money through advertisements of cigarettes. Everybody was smoking back in the day. Now that's inconceivable. And I would not recommend anybody to smoke. But just for historical context, we have to talk about cigarettes because in the 80s, everybody was smoking. And It was even in the waiting rooms in some doctor offices, people would be allowed to smoke. So perfumes needed to be strong to counter the smell of smoke. So you would, perfumes needed to have character so that you could smell them even though you were entering, let's say, a club that is completely stuffed with cigarette smoke. And that's why social smoking, says Rosana Navarro in the chats, exactly. And obsession comes in that period. And it is a shoulder pad perfume. We are in the mid 80s. We are living that consumer dream. Everything is fine and dandy, and perfumes are bigger than life. Amber accords are bigger than life. Obsession follows that trail and starts off green. We start off with a bergamot accord, actually, kind of like a Chypre vibe. And then it kind of melts into spices, sandy, breezy days on the beach as the sun is setting and the salty water is drying on your skin. And then that warm, smoky amber covers you like a resinous blanket as you dance your way through the night in the club. That's obsession, you guys. It is magical. And still to this day, even though it's reformulated, the Coty version is still beautiful. I much prefer the Coty version to the Unilever predecessor of Obsession. You know, sorry, Baconator. Don't like the Unilever version. IYK. We digress. This one, the more you dance and the more you sweat through the night in the club, the more the amber accord warms up on your skin and emanates like an ember from within. The heat mixing with the salty skin of your sweat. Oh, it's so magical in the dark club when the lights are dimmed and you're rubbing against someone you like and they like you, obviously reciprocity. That's when obsession is the best. And in fact, the name says it all. It's about obsession. And I'm obsessed with the 80s. I'm obsessed with going back to a time where, people might say, well, the 80s were not that safe. There was a lot of insecurity and uncertainty in the 80s. True, there was. But you see, for those of us who are here now, we survived the 80s. So to look back now into the 80s is so reassuring, only because we know that we survived the 80s. So we know there's a happy ending to that decade for us, because we're still here. That's why I see the 80s, I look back at the 80s with fondness, nostalgia, and love in my heart. Because if I were to go back and redo it again, I would think, well, it's all going to be okay, because I'm still here today. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow, but I survived the 80s, and boy, what a decade. And obsession was a part of that decade. And obsession was a part of, yeah, exactly, marathon dancing. Rosanna says, oh, those days. Still to this day, clubs have changed. In many countries, you can't smoke in a club. In some countries, you can after a certain hour. But things have become more clinical. It's no longer that since feeling of life and just letting go in a club. Now everything is controlled and it's kind of sad. Now to enter a club, you have to pass through the metal detector and everything is so clinical. Times have changed. And most of the fun that I still have in my life is through memories of experiences past. Thank God for perfumes, because the smell takes me right back in a nanosecond. Obsession is the way to go. My number 2, so if I do get a link for the current version of Obsession, it's going to be down below or here on the side, so you can help out the channel if you wish to purchase one for yourself and feel that pulsating beat and heart of the 80s. Now, let it macerate a little bit. Don't judge obsession when the batch is brand new. Let that oxygen in a little bit. Wait a couple of months. Start using it, but you'll see when it weathers a little bit. After a couple of months, it gets sweeter and deeper and more resinous. My number 2 for the club would be Poison Girl by Dior. I also wanted to include a younger, fresher version of Poison because obviously Poison, the original, also from the 80s, was a thought, but I went for Obsession rather than Poison because Obsession has a sweetness to it that is just so nice. Poison Girl is from the 10s, the 2010s era. I think it was released in 2015 or 2016. And maybe it was 2015 December was the release. The first Poison Girl was released as an eau de parfum. It is sickly sweet. And as much as go check out my review of Poison Girl, I bought the first batch of this perfume and I reviewed it. Oh my God, is it almost 10 years ago now? I'm just getting more depressed the more this video continues. Yeah, I reviewed Poison Girl 8 or 9 years ago. And it also feels like it was yesterday. But I do remember saying, I don't like the name. This was very much the 2010s era and the aesthetic of the bottle, the painted black sides here. Everything was it was an aesthetic of the 10s that I really don't like. But if we forget about all of that, first of all, my pink juice in my first edition of Poison Girl has turned black. Black. Okay? The overdose of vanilla in here has oxidized and it is black. It is gorgeous. But I remember already back then saying, forget about the look of this. And the name. And the ad campaign, which was also pathetic. I really like this perfume because back in the 2015 era, everything was already very clinical. You're not allowed to smoke in the clubs. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to drink after a certain hour. Like there's a lot of restrictions. But Poison Girl is so strong and powerful. It's a perfume that I remember saying in my review back then, it's a perfume made for the club where people still smoke cigarettes. It's one of those rare perfumes that was released in the 15s era where you really only appreciate this one if you wear it in a club, in a sweaty, smoky club, because it's so powerful. It's so strong. It's so sickly sweet. But something happens, something clicks the second you add that tobacco note from the air to this perfume. Oh my God. The nights I spent with this one, and not just cigarettes. Wow. This was something else. If you really want to go party today, in one of those clubs, Poison Girl is your girl. Trust me. It smells so good when you're dancing, when you start sweating, when your heat from your body emanates and this sweetness, it becomes so alluring, so attractive, sensual. Now, they've released a lot of different flankers of this one. Go for the OG, okay? The first one, the Eau de Parfum. If I find a link, I'll post it in my shopping links for this video. All the different iterations. I'll post whatever I can find because I know that they do like 30. They also used to do 15 milliliter, 30, 50, 100, 150 mil. And then they did the flanker Poison Girl Unexpected. Like, what the hell? Anyway, then they did Poison Girl Eau de Toilette. I'll try to compile a whole little set for you guys of options so that you can kind of scroll through them down below or wherever it's clickable, the shopping link. So there you go. Love it. For clubbing, going out on the town at night. Oof. Number 3 for the club would be Alien, the new formula, okay? Not the OG formula, the slightly subdued formula that smells a little bit less synthetic to me and a little bit more floral. I love the current version of Alien. I just put it here. There's something about this one, and if I find the link to this one for the shopping, I'll put it in the shopping link so you can check it out. And if you like it, purchase it. It's the sweet, sickly jasmine in this one that makes it a club perfume for me. Because it feels like you have to spray this on before you enter the club, right? So this is going to sound really strange, and I say you have to spray this on before you enter the club. Take it with you if you have a smaller bottle to re-spritz while you're in the club, although it's a killer. But you feel like an alien when you're outside. You feel like you don't belong. And then you enter that club where you always go to, where everybody knows you. A little bit like Cheers. Now, that was a bar, but wherever you go where everyone knows your name. And then all of a sudden, yes, you felt like an alien outside of the club, but once you enter the club, you're finally home again. You feel home. You feel at home. You feel safe. You feel like you're among your people. Like everybody in that club is an alien as well as you, and you have entered your mothership. And you're going to have a wonderful couple of hours, or if you go to Berghain, you're going to have a wonderful 3 or 4 days without sleep in the mothership wearing alien. It's definitely a vibe for clubbing. However, I think alien is really good if you are very much into your own self. By that, what do I mean? When you go to the club and you're not necessarily looking to hook up with someone, but you're going to the club because you've just had a rough week and you need to spend a couple of hours on the dance floor and sweat it all out. You just want to dance. You just want to let the bass and the beat of the music penetrate you from every orifice, okay? And you just want to vibrate and you want to expel all the toxins, all the stress of the week on that dance floor. Hours and hours of dancing and you don't stop. And then at one point you just feel you're good. You go to the cloakroom, get your jacket, and you go home. No flirting, no hooking up with anybody. You just went to that club to empty all the built up tension of the week. There are those days. There were those days. Those were the days when you wear alien to the club. Because this one creates that kind of mothership around you. It's not necessarily an attraction magnet, but it's rather a being in your own zone type of fragrance. I highly recommend this one for the club if you want to spend that night at the club where you're just dancing on your own. We all know those scenes, don't we? If I get the link to this one in the shopping cart, the shopping links, I'll post it as well. So go check out all of the different variations of this one as well that are available for purchase. Because the cute thing about Mugler is that there's different bottles and different designs for the sizes. So they change quite drastically for some sizes. Or they're like the 15 mil, they look like a shard of a crystal, almost like the Dark Crystal from Jim Henson, one of my favorite movies of all time. And this one does remind me of the Dark Crystal quite a bit. So highly recommend the current formula, the slightly lighter version. This is an eau de parfum. but it has been delicately reformulated, and people who love the original cloying synthetic version, they don't like this new version, but I did not like the original version. I prefer this one. And also go check out my review of Alien if you wish to hear me talk more in depth about it in a separate video. And thumb up this video and subscribe while you're at it. And let's jump into number 4. Okay. Now, hear me out on this one. Incense-Avignon by Comme des Garçons. This one was from the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's a series of, part of series 3, but in reality it's 5 perfumes dedicated to incenses. Avignon, to wear Avignon in a club, it's kind of gothic to do so. So if you're going to go dancing in a more goth club, Please and Fruit Gummy says in the chats, I found my bottle of Alien in an abandoned locker at a club. Well, what do you know? You see? I mean, I'm not talking shit. I know what I'm talking about. Rosanna says, the bass. Standing next to the bass woofers, feeling the beat. That's it for the night. Yeah, right? Man, those were the days. Zach says, oh my God, those were the days. Period. This one is a little bit goth. This is also a perfume that you wear because you want to be with yourself when you're in the club. You know what I mean? And you're like, hey, I am going to feel my oats. It's a little similar to Alien, except Alien really, you maintain your distance. You just dance the night away and you go home. This one, you begin alone the night, but you attract somebody. You always do when you wear Avignon. When you wear, honey, you are that church, and the disciples are coming into that church when you wear this perfume. Okay, so if you go to the club, you enter a priest, you exit a hoe. I mean, because if you wear this incensey perfume going to the club and you enter a priest with the sweat and the dancing and everything going on, sooner or later, somebody's gonna start talking to you, and more people. And at a certain point, you're gonna meet someone who actually you also are kind of fond of. And before you know it, lips are locked in place, bodies locked in place, sweat locked in place. You start fiddling and diddling and touching and kissing, moping and groping, and before you know it, the two separate entities that entered as priests exit as one hoe together, and you go home either to their place or your place, or if you want to be all extra, you can even rent a place. That's what happens with this one if you're wearing it to the club. So if you want that type of experience, I recommend this frankincense and incense bomb of a perfume. It's really beautiful. Beautiful fragrance. If I do find a link for this one, I shall also post it in the shopping links down below. And last but not least, I will show you our queen, king, queen, whatever you want to call it, of the club. I think there never was, and I think there never will be, another perfume that reaches the height of this club goddess. Number 5 had to be Opium by Yves Saint Laurent. And I mean, this is a disco era. Okay, this one was released in the 70s. But Opium is the club perfume. You know, if you know anything about club culture and club history and disco culture, disco history, Studio 54 Bianca Jagger on a white horse. Grace Jones arriving on the boat for the launch of Opium in New York with Yves Saint Laurent. Cher arriving half naked. That's Opium, okay? Liza Minnelli blacking out in the club while Andy Warhol is taking pictures of her. That's Opium by Yves Saint Laurent. This is the quintessential clubbing perfume. Okay, this is the perfume that is basically has in its heart all of the other fragrances I mentioned today. Obsession would not exist if it wasn't for Opium. Now, Opium would not exist if it wasn't for Estee Lauder's Youth Dew, which was the mother of all of these very strong, in particular, spicy amber accords. But Youth Dew, truth be told, not so much club perfume for me because it lacks that certain type of flirtatious, sexy edge that Opium has. Youth Dew is a little bit more sophisticated in a more conservative way. It also comes from a different decade altogether. And I love Youth Dew, but Opium is the quintessential club perfume. And I showcase here in particular the current bottle design for the Eau de Parfum concentration. If you don't find the Eau de Parfum, you can also go with the Eau de Toilette. The Eau de Toilette is a little bit more peppery spicy, while the Eau de Parfum is more vanillic and ambery. Okay, so it's a bit warmer, and that's why I went with this one, because I mean, you want to be warm in the club, right? And but depends on your skin chemistry. On some people, the Eau de Toilette smells incredible. On other skins, the Eau de Parfum smells much better. So test them both out and see which one you like more. These are not flankers of Opium, because you know there's also like black Opium and this, and those are all flankers of the OG. The OG is just Opium, and it has this twirly black thing in the middle for the Eau de Parfum. And the Eau de Toilette doesn't have this black thing in the center, but it just has that transparent plastic little spout. Now, if I find the link to both Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum, I'll post it in the shopping links in this video, so go check them out. I love Opium. You know, Kate Moss advertised for Opium. Linda Evangelista advertised for Opium. Actually, Linda was in the first ad for Opium, the filmed video ad. She was very, very young. And she was in that ad. I mean, she looked like a teenager in that ad. And she was rushing through the Orient, another word you're not supposed to use anymore today, and looking to get a new bottle of this perfume because she was hooked on it. Now, it's an advertisement and an ad campaign that would never be approved today, but she was basically an addict in that ad campaign, and she was rushing through these sweaty bars and restaurants looking for the dealer. She finally finds him and begs him to give her one more dose of Opium. Does she get her fix? Well, you only know if you go to the club and see what happens. And you only know if you go to the club while you're wearing this perfume. So there you go. No, this is just amazing. This is the playful aspect of clubbing. Going to the club and being flirtatious, whimsical, outgoing, open for conversation, but at the same time, mystery, being mysterious, you know, playing almost the part of a film noir going down in the club. So it's kind of, Opium is all about giving and retracting. Like the Black Widow luring in the prey into the web. Oh man, it's so much fun. Opium is always it's always a pip if you're wearing Opium in the club. Try it out. Let a hoe know down below. Thumb up this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. If you had fun, do a thumb up. Use the links to help the channel out if you want to shop for these perfumes. And let me know Do you go to the club often, or are we all kind of staying at home at this point? Since the lockdowns, it's like we live, breathe, eat, and die at home at this point. But if you do go to the club, which perfume do you wear? Let me know down below. Until next time, never forget to never give up on fragrant love. Bye.